Okay, thank you. I'm Richard Anthony. I'm on the board of directors of Zero Waste San Diego. I'm on the board of directors of Zero Waste USA, and I'm the chair of the Zero Waste International Alliance. Last year, a representative from Turkey, actually the Prime Minister's wife, went to the UN and said, you need to have a Zero Waste Day, International Day. And they declared March 30th as Zero Waste International. They then contacted me as the chair of Zero Waste International Alliance and asked if we could send somebody to the UN to speak to the General Assembly about what zero waste is all about. And I thought about it and I said, well, gee, I could send Bob or Alice. The heck no, I'm going to talk to the UN. This is a dream of mine. And so we put together, it was me, Adi Varesha from Gaia, and then a gentleman from West Africa, and a woman from Maine who's a zero waste lifestyle person. And we spoke to the entire assembly. And you may look at the video and you'll see, well, there's nobody in the seats, but over 60 countries got up during the first half and then the second half and made testimonials all about zero waste, all about a circular economy, all about reduce, reuse, recycle. Now, my wife looked at me and says, well, if this is true, we don't have a problem. This is going to be done. My thought was, well, everybody was working off the same sheet that to put out for information. But it was a good deal. And I want to just talk a little bit about what that is, because I think it's really important. You have a lot of people out there talking about zero waste this and zero waste that. We have worked for 20 years to come up with a definition of zero waste that has been peer-reviewed internationally. We've had two or three versions over the last 15 years. The current version is that zero waste is the responsible production, consumption, reuse, and recovery of products, packages, and materials without burning and no discards to air, water, and land that are going to threaten the environment and human health. That's the peer-reviewed definition. Anybody says we're zero waste to landfill, that's not the definition. It's no burning. It's no discharge to air, water, and land that cause threats to the human health and the environment. Now, part of that was to put together a program that we all could work on the same page. And believe it or not, we did. And it's 8 points. First point is equity. We want fairness both in our jobs and in our projects. If we're going to locate a landfill or a transfer station or a MRF, think about the neighbors and who lives there and what's fair. Secondly, we want to ban products that have no place to go. If it's a single-use product with no end use, they can't make it. If it's not recyclable, if it's not compostable, it doesn't work. In that mean, we want the producers to be responsible, both in how they produce their products so that we can recycle them or compost them or repair them and then recycle them, and the legacy stuff that's left on the beaches and in the ocean. They need to take responsibility and help us clean up the planet, which leads us to the fourth one, which is basically source separation. It needs to be required. No more volunteer. Back when I was a kid in the 70s, it was volunteer. This is 2024. We're on a threshold of falling off a cliff in terms of environmental use and how we're dealing with it. Mandatory source separation. At least technical, the recycling materials, and organics. Never put the organics in the landfill. You're going to get methane. Methane from landfills is in the number 3 or number 4 contributing to methane in the atmosphere and global warming. We want to remanage organics, which we're doing here in San Diego, so they don't go to the landfill, they go to a composting facility or a digester. And we want to recover edible food that we can feed people, feed animals, feed the land. We want a reuse and recovery society, reuse and repair, so that products are made that we can do it. We want to be able to get the handbooks to be able to fix it. We want to turn the transfer stations and landfills into zero waste zones. They're already zone for waste, making zero waste zones and set up resource recovery parks, compost facilities. One thing we need to understand is that most of the recycling does not necessarily happen on the curb. About a third of the people haul their stuff to the landfill or to the transfer station. So we want to make that good for them. Finally, education. We want to make sure that our local representatives understand what we're talking about. We're going to have a council member here. We're going to have a talk from, I guess that's happening next, right? Yeah. Our next talk is Senator Blakespeare, former mayor of Encinitas, a speaker here 3 or 4 years ago, and she saw an article I wrote about what we did at the UN, and she called up at the Sierra Club and said, I want to be the voice of zero waste in Sacramento. And if you're watching what I'm putting out on the releases, she's got 3 or 4 really good bills banning plastic completely. I mean, we're talking cleaner bags and everything else. It's a huge deal. So let me say that having representatives like Joe from the city, Tara from the county, who have backgrounds in care, we need to let them know, let them take the lead. And, I just want to point out in closing that we went after the People's Ordinance, which allowed the city of San Diego to give free collection to single families while the multifamilies had to pay. And finally, we got it to the ballot, and 200,000 people said, yes, we ought to pay for it. 199,000 said no, but we won in the majority of rules. We did. So what you're going to see in the next year or so, and we'll talk a little bit, Renee's here and Joe's here, talk about where the city's out on these programs. But this is the power we have, 200,000 people strong. We want to do some more stuff. We want to make San Diego into zero waste county and be one of the first around. I want to now introduce the video for Senator Blakespeare. She's wants to be the voice of zero waste in Sacramento. Let's hear what she has to say.